Active.
Active. So if you guys do not know this about Mayor Harley, he has an oasis in the center of Centerville that he calls home, and he has an alarm goose called Beethoven. So it follows him around everywhere he goes on his property. It's a neat thing to see. And who's the companion that you have with Beethoven?
Manchester. Manchester's a duck. That's just great pals. You always see the two of them together. But Beethoven is the leader. Manchester's the follower.
Gotcha. Well, we cover all the pressing questions here with exposition. So, Mayor, I think you had one other gentleman you wanted to introduce this morning.
Well, I have a few others.
Okay, go ahead.
Let me go ahead and do that. First thing I wanted to say is that how appreciative we are of the Chamber of Commerce and all the Chamber of Commerce does for our entire community out here. You guys keep us together and keep us talking to each other a lot better than we can do by ourselves. Thank you very much for that effort on your part there. Also want to thank the county commissioners out here, and I want to thank the other mayors. In particular, I want to thank the mayor of Robbins Air Force Base, around Horvath there. We all have the same experiences together, and we can talk to each other about it. So it's a fun thing to have. Now, a few people I want to talk or introduce very quick. Let's go with post one. That's Cameron Andrews. He's not here today because he's the vice principal in the Houseman School System. Post two is Justin Wright, who's over here, and they're raising. Post three is Michael Evans. He was just reelected. In here, Michael, do you want to say a few words?
Yeah. Good morning, everybody. I just want to thank God for being here and thank the citizens of Centerville for giving me the opportunity to continue to serve for the next 4 years, and looking forward to continue to work with everyone in the community.
Thank you, Michael. And post four is Ed O'Neill. Ed is up in Washington, D.C. right now, and I hope he's telling our leaders up there how to run the country. They don't know how to do it, in my opinion. There are some of the good ones up there, though. And, you know, the city of Centerville can't operate without a good staff. People ask me, do you ever get worried when you go out of town? I said, no, I can take a week, 10 days, you go any place, you come back, and everything is humming beautifully. And we appreciate the people who actually do the job, because we're actually, the mayor, myself, and all the councilmen, we're part-time. But we have full-time staffs, and those are the people that keep us going. You have Kate Hogan, who you're going to hear from in a little bit, here, Director of Economic Development. We have Becky Tidings over here, our city attorney, you know, who's, I think everybody knows her here. She really has gotten around and is a wonderful asset to the city. It has been since the day she started working with us. Mike Brumfield, our Director of Operations over there, he makes sure everything goes really well. He's the go-to man in our city. We have Krista Benningfield, who I don't think made it here today. She's been having little things in the family there. And she's our city clerk. She's also, you know, every one of these people very critical to operation. And they all get good hands-on. Chief Haddon, our chief of police, he's out of town today. So we have other representatives from our police over there. We got a fine police department. We're 100% manned, believe it or not. One of the few, I guess, around. But we're just fortunate in that we have some good people there. And you know, one thing I have to say about them too is that they get around with our citizens. They do all types of things with our citizens. They're continually out there with them. They talk to them, and they know our citizens. So it was great to have police forces out on the streets and tell you, oh, that street over here, so and so and so and so. That street over there, so and so and so and so. I like that. Jason Jones, our fire chief over there, he and his team are very involved in the city, in all the city operations and things that go on. You see him at all the schools, you see him at events at Galleria Mall. He even goes to other cities and does some things with them too at the fair. You know, it's just great to have people like that again. Carol Harrison's our city accountant up here. You know, she helps us try to keep track of what little money we have. And does a good job of it. And she says, you don't want to buy that? I like that. And Sarah Caldwell, she's our court clerk. I don't believe she's here either today, but, we have a great court. A really good court system up there, and it's professional and well run. That makes me feel good. I like to go to court every once in a while and sit there and listen to see how it operates, and it does. They do a great job of running there. One last thing I want to say real quick is that we had a great election here recently, and I had a reporter tell me, he said, you know, you have one contested seat, that was post 3, that Michael Evans won. He said, but you got 2 candidates in there who will be outstanding candidates for anything. You know, and we were so pleased to have outstanding candidates running for that seat up there, or running for any seat. And, you know, having qualified people who love the city of Centerville and want to do what they can for the city of Centerville. You know, it was just a great thing to have for our city.
Awesome. Thank you for introducing everyone that plays an intricate a part of your organization, and it's amazing to see it run so efficiently as it does, and you guys are doing it in a positive way, which is awesome. Thank you for that. So, Mayor, one of the first questions we have is you know, what's actually going on in the city of Centerville?
Well, even as small as we are, we still have a lot of things ongoing. First, I want to say, you know, Centerville has a way of thinking now. We've sort of rebranded ourselves. You can hear more about it. But we are active, forward-thinking, we're a small town, with big pride, and we live in the center. And that's the thing we go by now. First thing I want to talk about is the East Church Street widening project. And that's working with our House and County Commissions on that. And it's the SPLOS that's helped doing that for us. And I thank everybody for that. You know, it's really the SPLOS that does it. But that effort is ongoing well. It's been delayed a little bit because we have some contractors who are trying to put stuff under the street before we put the street on top. We don't want to have to dig the street back up 6 months from now because they have to put something underneath there. So that's delaying that, but that's going to be a wonderful thing. It's going to be 3 lanes, it goes to center lane and the regular lanes, and sidewalks and curbing on both sides. So it's going to really enhance our downtown effort and our thoughts on that. We're at the Center Park in Centerville. You will hear more about that in a few minutes. We're excited about that. The PDF is out on that. We want to see some buildings starting, I hope, in January. So our building will be finished sometime in April. Our fire station, the drawings are here. And we've been looking at it. We're about ready to vote on the drawings. We've already voted on how to proceed with the thing. So we hope to have a new fire station here within a year or so. It's going to be a great fire station. I think the total cost for the whole thing will be about $3.7 million. It's going to be one that looks like our city hall, our police department, and courthouse. It's going to have the same look. It's going to be on Houston Lake Road, North Houston Lake Road, where the old city hall used to be years ago. We got a big cleared area. It's right next to our existing fire station, which is we've outgrown, considerably outgrown. And we're very happy to be able to do that for the citizens. You know, the Brunchville referendum passed in the last election, and that was a great thing too for the city, because it allows people now, if they want to, go in the morning between 11 and 12:30 and perhaps have a drink with their lunch. Before they couldn't do that, but that passed very well in the city. And it just basically extends it, because it used to be from 12:30 till I think 7 in the evening. Now you have it extended on the other end from 11 to 12:30. And new marketing for the city. I guess that's a good transition point, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Let's do that.
So, Kate, as all this activity goes on and the forward-thinkingness of the small town concept goes, and I know the city park is a big part of that, you know, what's going on with that and where do we stand?
I'm loud, but not that loud. So, Center Park at Centerville, I've stood up here and talked in front of you guys multiple times about everything that we've got going on about that project, but we're excited to have hit a new threshold and have our RFP out for bid. We're really excited for this opportunity to bring you a splash pad, a playground, a restrooms pavilion, a picnic pavilion, and more for this first phase. We're really excited. I think it's going to be around May that we finally get into this facility, and it's been a long time coming. We've talked about it multiple different times, but it's gonna be an opportunity for us to really create a place for our residents and citizens to actually live in the center. It's gonna be a place where we continue all of our events, our Food Truck Fridays, our farmers markets, our fall festivals, Independence Day celebrations, and it's truly just gonna be an opportunity for us to create a civic center for everybody to enjoy.
Awesome, thank you. Well, Mayor, you covered it already a little bit, but, it was very quick.
Yeah, it was.
It was very quick. A lot of great stuff going on, but, the city has, the fire station going on. So what's important about the new fire station that makes you guys move on it so quickly and want to create that synergy around, having it look like all the other buildings that you have in the city of Centerville?
But synergy, idea behind that is to have us all look basically the same and show that we're a city that's growing, being there for the citizens. As I mentioned, our current fire station has just gotten too small. We got a ladder truck recently which doesn't really fit in there with everything else, so something has to go out. We just need more room. Plus, we're getting more firemen, and we'll have to do that. As I mentioned, we received architectural drawings, and the project bid should be going out soon. So that's gonna be a great project for somebody. And it is the only station we have in the city right now. If the city grows north, which is the only direction we can grow anymore, we do have some land up there we can put another station if we need it. And basically, I guess the most critical thing about the fire station is gonna be the cornerstone for the north end of town center. Just give you an idea how the town center is around the center part. We're looking forward to it. I think it's gonna be a great thing.
Awesome. Just to remind you guys, if you have cards on your table, if you have any questions for the mayor and the city of Centerville, as well as the census coming up in just a few minutes, be sure to fill that out. Our staff will come by and pick those up and bring them up. So, Kate, with the growth of the development that's going on right now and the progress you guys are making, what's the city doing to unify and own their story that you guys are trying to share?
So when I first came to the city of Centerville, there was a lot of, what is Centerville, who is Centerville, and we have this beautiful city seal that truly encompasses the history. It encompasses all of the buildings. It's got shaking hands because mayor and council are so diligent about their business relationships, but we didn't feel like it accurately represented everything that we wanted to come across as for future residents, for our current residents, and so we engaged M&R Marketing with a rebranding process in January this year. And it was incredible. Matt Evans was the project manager for us. I can't say enough about M&R Marketing and their entire staff. It was an opportunity for us to use a local company and really redesign. They got down to the very nitty-gritty about the redesign of our logo. Whether Councilman Wright liked triangles, whether Councilman Evans really preferred the color blue, if Mayor Harley purple, I apologize. And then Mayor Harley, he preferred cursive rather than block lettering, and they took 13 very strong opinions from the city of Centerville and came up with a set of 12 logos and 12 taglines, and we have just really fallen in love with our new logo. It's Centerville, live in the center, so it's got the 2 little green leaves, and that represents the growth and the accomplishments that we've seen so far in the city and the accomplishments that are still yet to come. The forward-leaning font of Centerville is just to, show that we've got some more growth that we're still looking to achieve, and we're gonna move fast. And the blue and the green is really just to be a really welcoming and inviting theme. So we've taken this new logo and we've really incorporated it into a lot of our different branding. We've got new flags in the city. We've got some amazing new entryway signage throughout the city. So mayor and council have actually implemented 17 street signs, 5 specialty signs. Our specialty signs were done through Best Signs, and Sean King and his team did an incredible job bringing in all of the dreams and the goals for our signage and made it emulate all of our buildings as it is. So they're all with the red pillars, the white mortar, and the green toppers on the columns, and it truly is something that we have to be proud of, and so we are excited to make that investment into all of those entryway signs. and that was a $25,000 investment, which is just, it's a drop in the bucket, it really is. But when you're talking about a new friend or a new neighbor coming into our neighborhood, it's an opportunity for us to really show them that we take it seriously. It's the place for you to live in the center. This is something we're proud of, and this is something we want you to be proud of also. And so it's really important for us to create that brand, to create that awareness. And we've implemented that throughout the city too. We've got some new business cards and some new name tags and stuff for the staff. But as of Friday, we were very excited because we have launched our new website. You can scroll through it on the iPad over on our table. But this website is gone down from 35 pages to 20 pages. And M&R Marketing did this also, and Matt can tell you the emails that were rapid fire the past month, going back and forth on edits. It was something where the 13 management staff, mayor and council really had the opportunity to have their hand in. They were able to look over their pages, create the content for their pages. They were able to create the design for their pages, and it's something that when we have visitors and residents looking to move to our area, they're not going to be able to drive past the O'Charlie sign on Watson near Margie. They're going to have that digital handshake through our website, and so we feel like we made a very strong splash with that digital handshake, and we're very excited about being able to showcase our new logo that way.
Awesome, thank you. So Mayor, you've had a great election. You've got City Center Park coming up. You got a new fire station coming up. You got a 25th anniversary getting ready to come up with the Galleria Mall. So I'm scared to ask, what else you got going on?
Well, a little bit. We have 44 new homes being built in Centerville right now, which is great. The new businesses in the mall, we're so proud of. The mall has been the center point of our city for so many years. Such a great thing to have there. Our area is fast growing. A lot of things are going on. We've had, besides the new business at the mall, S&K Manufacturing came in, some manufacturing plants over on Paul Vincent in Centerville. And also, we have things like, our police department has what they got called a visibility enforcement grant of $14,000. And what this grant is for a trailer and some, I guess, kitty cars, what you call it. Then they have DUI glasses that they take out to the schools or other events where teens will be at. They allow them to see what it's like to drive with the glasses on, the DUI glasses. Basically turn your way of thinking and driving around. And it's a great educational tool. It's not available in a lot of places. We're actually taking it to other parts of the state of Georgia too, to help enhance that as part of the agreement with the grant we got. And our fire department again is involved in so many different things. They get different grants for different things to help out the citizens, and help citizens of our community. Now, our community is not just Centerville, but it's actually everything around us. It's all part of the same community. Like our recycling center we have the only recycling center in Houston County. But when you go there, you'll see license plates, or you'll see people from all over. They come down from Bibb County, Peach County, all over Houston County. It's just fabulous to see that, and it's fabulous that the city can do something like that for our community. We're all together. That's the only way we're going to get ahead in this world, is all staying together. Thank you.
Absolutely. So if you will, help me congratulate the mayor on the successful another year and all the progress you guys have made in being successful in the city of Centerville, but also being successful as a partner to the community as a whole. It's been awesome. So please help me congratulate the mayor. So along the ways here, and Mayor, you can step down for a second because we're going to bring in someone else up here because we're going to talk about the 2020 census. But then also we're going to bring Mayor and Kate back up in a few minutes for answering the questions that we might have. But I'm going to use Kate for a second here because as part of Kate's duty, she's very involved in the community as a whole. And something that's very important that's coming up is the fact that we have the 2020 census. Jessica Walden, who's here, is going to join us up on stage. But Kate, tell us how you've helped in that matter.
Yeah, so Councilman Michael Evans did want me to mention that our lighted Christmas parade is coming up, so I'm going to take a second about that. It's coming up on December 7th at 7 p.m. and we are so excited. I know we've got over 40 floats that we're going to have in this year's parade, so y'all just make sure sure to come out and spend some time with us. It's gonna be a great opportunity just to have some community. And it's smack dab in the center of Centerville, and we'll be up and down Houston Lake Boulevard, so y'all just make sure, December 7th at 7 p.m. But I serve for the city of Centerville on the Houston County Complete Count Committee. Chairman Jake Cox with the County Commissioner's Office has been instrumental in making sure that we're getting together all of the communities, including, you know, the Houston County Board of Education, the city of Perry, city of Warner Robins, and the city of Centerville. We get together monthly just as a little group of 5, but then we also get together with a large group of stakeholders that include a number of nonprofits and an opportunity for us to incorporate lots of different hard to reach areas. So Mandy Stella actually brought to our group and she said, you know, this is an opportunity for us to do some video messaging. And so we have come together and pulled together a video that we just think are some trusted voices and an opportunity for us to encourage other people to just respond to the census.
According to the 2017 census estimates, Houston County is home to 150,341 residents. The county has 3 cities, Perry, Warner Robins, and Centerville. The Houston County Board of Commissioners, Houston County Board of Education, City of Centerville, City of Perry, and the City of Warner Robins wants to make sure you are counted in our next decennial census.
The decennial census is the once-a-decade population and housing count of all 50 states, the District of Columbia, Puerto Rico, and the island areas. In the 2010 census, Houston County had 77.4% of all households respond. This year, we are aiming for all residents to respond. Make sure you are part of Houston Counts 2020.
The census provides important information for you and your community. It also determines how many representatives each state gets in Congress. The statistics it provides is used for federal assistance programs for communities, such as schools, transportation, and services you rely on every day.
Participando en el censo, ayudamos a nuestras familias para que tengan viviendas, escuelas y transporte, además de otros servicios para que sean exitosos. Asegúrate que tú y tu familia sean contados en el censo 2020. Hashtag Houston Counts 2020. Hashtag Houston Cuenta 2020.
Education in our county. It helps with programs such as Head Start, Early Start, Special Education, and the National Lunch Program.
Based on the latest census estimates, 150,341 people live, work, and play in Houston County. Let's work together to make sure everyone in Houston County is counted.
Very good, very good. So I've brought Jessica Walden up to the stage. Jessica is a community partner specialist for the 2020 census.
Yeah, great. Good morning.
Good morning. What does that mean?
Well, first, congrats on this video. That's a beautiful video, and I love that it shows such a cross-section of community in it. It's time for the census again. How many of you remember doing a census 10 years ago? All right. How many of you remember voting last time? Almost everybody raises their hands. We've got a big year in 2020. You're not just getting out to vote, you're also going to do your census. The census is actually in our Constitution, Article 1, Section 2, that a census will be conducted in the United States every 10 years. The first census was conducted in 1790 by U.S. Marshals on horseback, and they actually counted, I believe it was nearly 3 million inhabitants. And I think if we would just use the word inhabitants, it would eliminate a lot of confusion, but it is about counting everybody once, only once, and in the right place at the time of the census. And so here it comes again, and it's going to be a little bit different this year. So.
Well, you know, the video did a pretty good job of laying out why it's important, but why is it important? I mean, what type of impact does it have on our community?
Well, you saw in the video, they actually listed some of the areas that it directly impacts. Everything from our school system funding to school lunches, to emergency personnel management, to our roads. But there's $675 billion in federal funding that are determined by census numbers. And what I tell everybody is it's not based on need as a community, it is completely based on numbers. And the video talked about how Houston County had almost a 75% response rate, but that also means that about 35 to 37% didn't respond. And so when you think about $675 billion in federal funding that's being determined by census dollars, it really does come down to a price per person who doesn't respond. And actually, Jake Cox did some quick math on that, and what would that dollar be, Jake, per person?
About $13,000 over a 10-year period.
Yeah, $13,000 per person over a 10-year period. Because you got to remember, the census only happens every 10 years, so we're stuck with these numbers for a decade. And so that's one reason that the census is important. Some would say that the census really comes down to money and power. The other part of that is these numbers are used for political purposes for redistricting. So our representation is determined by census numbers. Georgia was one of the few states that actually gained a seat in Congress 10 years ago. Alabama this year is actually, there's talk of it being in danger of losing a seat. And I'll tell you, if you want to see one state who has jumped into action on getting out the census message, it is Alabama right now. Because no matter what side you're on, you want representation fighting for these federal dollars. So money and power is a big part of that. But you know, for me, in addition to census work, I'm a tour guide on the side, and I tell people stories for a living. And this is a civic duty that truly tells your story. When you think about people who are new to this country, their story's just beginning. And even though they're not a citizen yet, this is where it begins. And when they are counted in the census, 74 years from now, because this data is actually not available for that long. So we're just now seeing census information from the late 1940s, early 1950s. This is where the story begins. I just got back from a whirlwind trip in Washington, D.C. and had an amazing experience getting to visit the National Museum of African American History and Culture. And one thing that I took away from that experience was those numbers were everything. That's where so many people's story began. People who I adore, those numbers began with those census data that was collected. Unfortunately, those early census, only 3 out of 5 slaves were counted as a person. But those numbers were everything. And some people are just finding out their stories just now from the census data that is available. So it really is a way that we are not only counted as a community when it comes down to funding, but also how we say who we are and what makes our community so great.
Well, be sure that if you have any questions about the census or the city of Centerville, to fill out a card and let us pick those questions up. So, Jessica, what's unique about the 2020 census?
I'm so glad you asked that.
Says it right.
Well, you know, what's unique this year is the census is going digital. And that means that instead of the traditional paper way that you received the census before, it's going to be a little bit different. It's going to invite you to go online and fill out the census. So while it is easier in some capacity and saves money and paper and postage, at the same time we know as a community that's going to present some challenges. It's going to present challenges for those who don't have computer access or internet access. is gonna present those challenges for those of us who, you know, of course, trust the internet and don't necessarily want to give our information out that way. So it's important as communities and complete count committees like Houston counties to establish voices of trust that can encourage people to opt into this process. It isn't just digital. If you don't want to go online and do it, you don't have to. You can call an 800 number and you can do it over the phone. And if you're like me and don't want to be on the phone, then you can request your paper census and it will be mailed to you. So the traditional way is still out there, but it is digital this year, and so that makes it a pretty historic census this year. And I would encourage anybody who has access to computer labs, whether you're a church or a government center or our great library partners, to make those available to folks, encouraging them to come online and fill out the census.
Well, and the digital divide is something that's got to be overcome a little bit there, but there are other challenges, and what could those be?
Well, everybody trusts the government, right? That's probably one of the things I hear the most, is I don't trust this system, I don't trust this process. A lot is done to protect people's confidentiality with the census. Like I said, while we know the numbers, we don't know the people behind the numbers. These numbers are not shared until over 70 years later. These numbers are so protected that there is no executive order that can obtain these numbers. In fact, when I learned this working with the census, that when when Truman had to be moved from the White House, Secret Service tried to obtain census data of the neighborhood in which he'd be temporarily placed. Well, sure enough, it went all the way to the Supreme Court and nobody could get that data. So even for the protection of the president, that data was protected. As somebody who's now working with the census, walking into this job, I had to take an oath of office for the rest of my life, that if I saw your census information, I could not give it out. I mean, I couldn't say, did you know that she is this old and I saw her? No, it is gonna be up to 5 years in jail and $250,000, I believe. And I love some people in this room, but not that much. So, you know, it's taken very seriously. It is protected. A lot has been going on behind the scenes to beta test this new digital way. And it is the census falls under the Department of Commerce, and so you can imagine that is one of probably the most sought after departments to try to hack into, but it's also one of the cutting edge of being secure. So I would say that establishing voices of trust in our community to let people know that the census is safe and secure and that it's their civic duty and it is in the Constitution, and if you don't want somebody knocking at your door, fill out the census.
Well, voices of trust in the community are a big deal as far as that's concerned. So, you know, what is Houston County doing to keep those challenges moving forward?
I've really got to applaud Houston County because I use them. I work now in multiple counties with this position, and I keep asking Jake if I can use Kate's work, everybody's work as best practice, because it's been such a great effort to see. I mean, what I love is the collaboration of the Complete Count Committee in Houston County. There's 3 city governments in it, and then a cross-section of community members representing education, representing the base, representing private business. So they're in our faith-based community. So that's important. Houston County has a very strong Complete Count Committee. Cannot wait to see that float in the Christmas parade. And is having a lot of fun with it, making sure that they are establishing and identifying voices of trust. They have a plan in place, but that doesn't mean it's just the work of the Complete Count Committee. I would challenge anybody in here to think of yourself as your own Complete Count Committee, that you are going to get a complete count in your household, and that you're going to try to touch as many other households as you can in getting the word out on the census. One of my jobs is just to go around and talk to groups about this and to answer questions. This is our education phase before the census hits in early 2020. And I mean, no group is too big or too small. I've been to Bible studies, I've been to garden clubs now. I mean, that's part of my role. I've also been to the AME Congress, because AME Church has really taken this on as part of their mission for 2020. So it's such a grassroots effort, and when it comes to success with something like this and truly being able to get a complete count, I really do believe it has to come from the inside out. And so the Complete Count Committee in Houston County is doing a great job with that. Couple weeks, I guess it was 2 weeks ago, we had a Spanish-speaking census salon, which we put online, and that was innovative in Georgia compared to others, and it's a work in progress and a continued piece of progress. And I would again encourage any of you, I have my card here if you want to get highly involved with the efforts, or just have me come speak, or have somebody from Census be present. We're ready to do that.
Well, in a lot of you mentioned about counting your own, and make sure that your household and your family and the groups that you're involved with around you are informed and also participating. You know, as an individual, is there anything else that somebody could do to help the census?
Well, a good rule of thumb is April 1st, April Fool's Day. That is technically Census Day, so that is a good day to say, okay, on April the 1st, who is in my household and how will they be counted? If you have a college student who's not living at home, they're away, they actually need to be counted where they live. But if you have an exchange student living at your house on April 1st, you need to count that student. So it is being very proactive in thinking, okay, who am I going to count? If you have a baby born on March 30th, you better be sure that baby should be counted as the newest member of Houston County's population. It is just about trying to make sure you're counted, your neighbors are counted, and that those who don't have access or maybe just aren't involved, what's a way to get them to be counted as well? Because again, dollar for dollar, it really does matter to this community. From the roads we drive on, to our kids' school lunches, to Pell Grants, so much of that is decided by these numbers.
Awesome. Well, if you guys will help me thank these guys for their efforts with the Complete Count Committee, and Jessica and your efforts, so please help me thank these guys. And I do have a couple of questions here, so I'm going to invite Kate and Mayor back up again real quick and have a couple questions. Again, if anybody else has questions that you want covered in this quick session here, we'll get that done. One of the questions is, what is being done for town center? What is being done for town center at Centerville?
So as we are finishing up with phase 1 of Center Park at Centerville, Mayor and Council will have the opportunity to redirect our efforts towards town center at Centerville. The first step for this is going to be making sure that we have a full understanding of the entire site. Make sure that all the engineering work and all of the understanding of stormwater is fully understood as far as the investment that City of Centerville needs to make as far as public infrastructure goes. So I foresee in the next year or so us having a hard figure on exactly what it's going to take for the City of Centerville to make that investment.
So you guys noticed that we've had a couple of buildings in the Centerville area. You got the Rite Aid on the corner and also the Toys R Us. So what's going on with those two buildings at this point?
Yeah, so actually Toys R Us is not in the City of Centerville, and I love being able to answer this question because I get frequent calls about it also. I'm sure Mandy's office gets a ton of calls about Toys R Us, but Toys R Us is actually not in the City of Centerville. We have the right-of-way for Margie Drive. So we've talked to a couple different developers. I don't think at this time there's any information that can be shared about that project, but it's going to be an exciting opportunity for the entire area. And then the Rite Aid building, unfortunately, Rite Aid went through an acquisition period with Walgreens, and that parcel was purchased by Walgreens, but then Walgreens doesn't intend to do anything with it just yet. And nationally, many of those Rite Aid buildings that were acquired by Walgreens They're sitting vacant, and while that is unfortunate, there is an opportunity in the future. If you do want to purchase it, Walgreens has it for a very affordable price of $2.3 million. So, so you are welcome to reach out to Walgreens, but at this point in time, I think it'll still be a year or so, but then I think we'll see Walgreens kind of package up all of those Rite Aid buildings and sell them all to a single developer for chain implementation in multiple suburban areas.
That's awesome. So I have a census question or two, and the first one is, how can I volunteer to help in the census?
Well, that's a great question. I welcome anyone to volunteer, and I would say that go to 2020census.gov. There is some great partner resources. Just start by handing out information, educating people around you. Get your church involved, get a group involved, become a complete count committee. There's many ways. You can contact me directly if you want to come work an event with us or with the Houston County Complete Count Committee. There's great opportunities that way. And on top of volunteering, I haven't even mentioned yet that the other historic thing about this census is more people are going to be hired for this census than any other. And numbers are actually, there is a hiring boom right now. They are wanting people. They are actually even about to launch a bus tour that's going to come through Georgia communities just to hire people. So I would say if you are retired or if you know a young person, because it works out really great time-wise, if you're finishing up college semester, this is a great summer job. It's not just enumerators, it's also clerks, it's field staff, like being able to make sure that everybody's out there in operations. So if you go to 2020census.gov/jobs, you can see some of those opportunities, but volunteering, of course, welcome all that, but I would also say if you're willing to get out there, there's some great paid jobs right now as well.
And our final question at this point, again, if anybody has any questions. So this question is, what type of questions are on the census, and why only 77.4% were counted in 2010?
Great questions. So the question is about 10 questions. You can go online and see it now. You can just Google sample census, sample 2020 census. It is all very basic information. In fact, I could Google anybody in here and probably find out this information about them. But depending on how many people you're counting, you'll have to answer for each person. So name, age, occupation, there is marital status questions, how are you related to each person in your household, whether you have in-laws living with you or if you have foster children living with you. There's different questions about how you're each related in the home. Age is an important one. I would actually go into the second part of that question. One of the hardest to count populations is actually under 5 years old, which you think about it, nobody needs these numbers more than our youngest residents. So birth to age 5 has historically been one of the hardest to count. And I would say that would probably be one prediction for our area. For some reason, Central Georgia's participation did drop in 2010 as compared to 2000. It was a slight drop, but as I'm working in other communities, I'm seeing it being very consistently. And I don't know, I can't explain that. I would say that, because it wasn't different from 2000 to 2010. So that's one thing that the Complete Count Committee is looking at. We have this great online resource called Roam, and again, it's open to you as well. Just Google Census Roam. And you can actually zero down in Houston County to the street level view of the hard to count areas. What are the hard to count neighborhoods? And I tell everybody, I'm like, get in there, look around, see where the churches are, see where the daycares are, where you can potentially do outreach and try to get people counted. Okay, y'all looked at it a lot closer. Where are some of the areas?
So we've looked, it's actually on our work plan for December for all of the jurisdictions and the nonprofits to really analyze as far as their impact goes, where's the hard to reach area? So I can speak specifically to the city of Centerville. A lot of our hard to reach areas are gonna be areas that don't have access to Wi-Fi or computers. And so we're actually planning on going in, and this is a brainchild of Jake Cox, but planning on going into those communities with iPads and laptops and everything like that from the Houston County Public Library system into the Spring Lake Trailer Park community. It's just a low-income area. They could use a little extra help getting some access to some of these electronic forms, and I think that's going to be where Centerville puts its efforts. But as far as other communities, we welcome anybody. It's an open invitation to the Houston County Complete Count Committee. We've got one coming up on Wednesday in the city of Perry, and if you guys want more information, gladly share it with you. But it's just an opportunity for us to make sure that as many people are identifying hard to reach populations as possible, because Family Promise, as a nonprofit in our community, they're going to have a better understanding of their hard to reach populations. The Houston County Board of Education and Beth, I mean, she's fantastic. She's actually got a homeless liaison for the children in the school system, and we're able to utilize that resource to make sure that we're targeting those populations. But it's going to be a lot of those foreign-born speakers, which is why we have Monica in our video in order to tap into that Hispanic population in Houston County and make sure that we're just tapping into as many different hard-to-reach areas, because we're not going to leave money on the table as Houston County. We're going to make sure all those federal dollars come right back here.
I just want to echo too what you said. I mean, we talk about federal dollars, but I spoke to a real estate group the other morning, and there were questions about, you know, when you do see a large commercial property sitting empty and no business is coming in, well, those numbers that those businesses are looking at, that's census data. And so it really made sense to them when they started seeing that this particular property, the numbers just weren't there anymore for census. And so the work that they're doing to identify these hard to count areas, if you are a local business, I would encourage you, just put up something on census. You can print everything from the census website. Ask your employees, have you participated in the census? I'm hoping that we're able to do some work with some of our largest employers like Purdue to be able to identify voices of trust to encourage colleagues to participate in the census.
If you guys will help me thank Mayor, Jessica, and Kate for sharing with us today everything that's going on in Centerville, but everything that's going on with the census as well, and how important that was. So please help me. Thank you. You guys are fine. Don't go anywhere yet.
We don't mind.
So just a couple reminders that is on your table. You do have cards that give the 2020 eggs and issues dates and programs. So be sure to take that card with you and share it, but also put those dates in your calendar as we move forward. Real quick announcement on 12/12, December 12th, the Chamber is going to be having an open house from 3 to 6 in celebration of the new renovation that's going on at the Chamber building. And we look forward to that being an awesome presentation for you guys. And please come celebrate that process. Has been a lot of work by volunteers to get that done. We're really excited about that. We're still looking for nominees for the Pinnacle Awards. If you guys don't know, Pinnacle Awards is the Chamber's big awards that happen in January. We have a very good time with that, have a very good dinner and presentation with that. We're excited that's coming forward. And finally, if you guys are looking to find where April might be in December, please go check out the Perry Players version of Shrek. It will be happening December 5th through the 22nd, and I believe, is she playing? She's the ogre. Believe it or not, April is playing the ogre. So if you guys get a chance to do that, go support our local arts, if you will. So with that said, we will be adjourned. Thank you for being here.